Alrighty. So guys, here's my example, let's see, that I worked on yesterday. I have a lot of different examples with this one going so far because I have some from last year and then I'm working through some this year. So what I do whenever I work on a grid is I break my image down into really simple lines and shapes by looking at color changes in the project, okay? So anytime that I have a significant color change, let me zoom in for you here. I draw right on my photograph and start breaking it down into lines. Okay, you guys will see I've got kind of multiple grid lines going on there just because I had to take this off and reposition it multiple times. Okay, so here's kind of a technique that I'm talking about. So anytime where I see color changes, so right in here I've got color changes between pink and purple. And so I go through and I kind of just start breaking them down. I start getting an idea of how I can simplify this image out. Okay, so something like that. So you guys see how I'm just going through and kind of outlining my color changes, what I've got going on here. And then that starts just kind of helping me differentiate where my lines are going to be in my project. Okay, does that make sense to everybody right there? Okay, so that's one way that you can kind of eliminate the intimidation on drawing right from your image. And then you've got two ways that you can go about it. You guys remember the connect the dots drawings where you'd have to go by, like they number them out and then you go through, follow them, they make your picture. So you can do that yourself. So that's one way. And I've kind of done it here. So anytime that your line intersects, or your image, excuse me, intersects any of your grid lines, you can plot a point. Okay, kind of like in math. So you can go through and give yourself all these plot points. Like I can come down here, give myself a few extra. Also, it's very similar to like when you carve pumpkins and you put, so let me show you those plot points. So right here, it's very similar like when you carve pumpkins, you put that stencil on the pumpkin and then you got to poke the holes on the lines. So you can do that. And then that translates into, let me find that on my project. I'm going to zoom out a little. Hold on. There we go. Okay, so what I just did, just really quick, is on this side of the jellyfish, I went and plotted a bunch of different points to kind of start giving me that line. Then, so for example, if we look at my first point up here, it's in my C box and it's at the very, very top. So then if I look on this one, I've got my C box right here. There's my first point. Then my second one happens, roughly not quite halfway-ish on this line intersection between the C box and the letter D box. And so then I plot that point there. Then I can look at this one. It's about right in the middle between the 1 and 2 grid line. So then I can put that there. And then I start connecting the dots. Okay, that's one technique that you can use. Not everybody's going to like that technique. So the other technique is where you just isolate one square at a time. And you just focus on what kind of lines do you have going on in that square. So if I look at my B1, so B1 right here. So I've already kind of gone in and established a little bit of a line here where I've got a color change. I also have a little faint one there, and I've got a little line there that flows down to the A box. So I'll kind of come in here and I'll just connect them through. And I'm just going to want to focus on getting that line as close as I possibly can. And then just matching all of these line positions within that box. So then if I want to go a little more complicated, I can go down to B2. So B2, so see I have A2 already completed. And then I can go ahead and just follow out those lines that I've already made. Now, what's going to be a little challenging on this one is your image is twice the size on here than it is on here. So all of your lines and the process that you're working through is going to seem a little off because it's a lot larger, okay? So then I've got a little tentacle pulling out through there, so I'll draw that in. Okay, and then you guys can see where I've got another one pulling through there. So I'll just want to mimic that shape as close as I possibly can. Okay, and then I've got another one coming through about right here. And then I have this kind of white globular that's part of his other tentacles in the background. So I'll get that in also. Okay, and then I've got another tentacle pulling through right here. Shh, almost done, guys. And then I have a tiny bit of a globular deal pulling there in the back. Okay. Okay, so those are the two different ways that you can go about doing that. So let me show you an example that I've got a little further on and I've added some color in there. Okay, so you all can see how in different spots I tried different techniques, and I've got more or pretty much my full line drawing in. I still need to work on the tentacles in this area, and then I started putting color in. And I'll talk about color more tomorrow. We'll do one brief demo and then it'll be over with by then, okay? Does anyone have any questions on how to do that? Okay, so it's going to be a process that you're just gonna have to kind of jump in and go for it. Now I'll come around and I'll have to be really vigilant with you guys as you're drawing to make sure that you're really positioning everything. So my biggest thing when you're doing this is really look at how close your object comes to your grid lines, okay? So for example, this part of the jellyfish, I need to mimic this. It's kind of down in the bottom corner. And so I need to mimic about that same space here, but it's going to be twice as large. So you just need to really look at where do your lines intersect? How close to the edge do they get? And then you need to draw that in that fashion. Okay, that's going to be the most challenging part. All right? Okay, so I'm going to give you the rest of the class today. Tomorrow we'll kind of work through a little bit of color pencil, and then it's going to be just work time throughout the whole project. Okay?